All right, welcome back, Mr. Townsend. It's nice to have you again. Before we start, I want to start with a mood check. That's what we usually do. I want to gauge where you are right now. And I remember last time when we spoke, you had told me you were feeling some depression. And so, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 saying meaning that I'm not depressed at all, and 10 being very depressed. Can you tell me where you are today?
I'd probably put myself at a 7.
You put yourself at a 7. Okay. Now that's kind of high. Can you tell me why you might feel that today and why would it be that intense today?
Basically, my girlfriend left me,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been feeling kind of depressed.
Okay. So that event has caused you to feel pretty, depressed. And that's why you said 7.
Right.
Okay. Alrighty. Right, so before we really get started and we really dig into things, I want to set an agenda for today. And so today we're going to get an update after this. We're going to get an update about, what's happened this past week since our last, session.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to go over some of the homework that we assigned from last week, and we're going to see how you did with that. Next, we're going to prioritize agenda again, and we're going to work on 1 or 2 problems that are really affecting you, and seeing what we can do to help with those. And then after that, we're going to set some new homework, okay? And me and you both, we're going to work on that. And then I'm going to give you a summary of some of the things that we learned. And then we're going to get some feedback. And you're going to let me know what you liked about the session, what you felt like you could get out of it, what you wanted a little bit more of. And we're going to go from there, okay? So I know that's a lot. Like, we're doing a lot of things today. But I just want to give you an overview of what's today going to look like for us today, okay? While we're here. So right now, if you can kind of give me like an update, tell me what's been going on some of the thoughts you've been having this past week since we've been unpresent.
Sure. Well, again, like I said, I've just been feeling depressed. Specifically, I've been feeling, with this depression, I've been feeling kind of unloved and really just undesirable.
Okay. Well, like I stated before, we work with a model that, focuses on thoughts. And so, what we're going to be doing with the CBT model, we mentioned a little bit before in our first session how it focuses on changing those thoughts. So it changes that feeling of depression.
Mm-hmm.
So it also, affects our actions so that we're able to feel better, we're able to function and do things like that. So hopefully, as we continue throughout the session and as you continue to come to therapy and see me, we can help work on some of those thoughts, okay?
Okay.
All right, so while we're talking about thoughts, we're going to just do a quick review of some of the homework that, was assigned last week. Can you tell me how that went for you?
Yeah. For the most part, it went well. I wrote down all of my depressive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
If I can be honest, though, it got kind of hard at times because seeing, that I didn't like some of the things I was writing, but I wanted to help myself, and I knew that would help, so I kept on going.
Okay, so as we hear correct, make sure I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that you felt like the homework was helpful because even though you didn't like what you were writing down and, you didn't like those thoughts, that you knew you want to help yourself and to do better into changing those thoughts. So that's really good. I'm really glad that the homework assignment has really been helpful to you. Do you feel like you would want to continue that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right. That's good. Alrighty. So, like I said before, from here on out for the rest of the session, our main focus is going to be working on some problems that you have this week, and after that, after we work through those problems that we have, and hopefully we can, meet them all, we're going to, set some new homework in addition to the homework that was helpful to you. And we're going to work on that together and just seeing what works best for you in your schedule. And then we're going to get some feedback and the summary, and we're going to move forward, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So, if you can tell me 2 things that you would like to go over today.
Well, I'd like to talk about how I'm depressed at work,
Okay.
and another problem I'd like to also talk about is how I'm depressed at when I go home.
Okay. So, you said you're depressed at work, is that correct? Is it, excuse me, is it hindering your ability to do work? How's it affecting you at work?
Basically, that I can't really function. These thoughts of me just being a failure or being undesirable, it hinders my work.
How does it hinder your work?
Well, like my boss will ask me to do something, and even before I get started, I'll start doubting myself, and then because of this doubt, and these depressive thoughts, then I start thinking, well, shoot, my girlfriend doesn't like me. Maybe, my boss won't like me either. Maybe I'll even get fired because of that.
Okay. And you're saying when you're at home and you're alone, what's going on with that?
I just have bad habits. I just. I don't know. It's like I just have bad habits. It's like when I'm at home, and I just feel unloved. So sometimes, if I don't get a phone call from anybody, I just kind of start getting depressed, and these depressive thoughts of self-hate just start coming at me. Because it's like no one likes me, no one loves me,
Okay.
things like that.
Okay. So can you let me know, out of those 2 that you mentioned, which one do you really want to tackle first today? Hopefully we're able to tackle, both of them, but realistically with the time limits and things like that, time constraints, things like that, which one do you think, how would you prioritize? Which one would you really want to talk about today? And if we don't have time, maybe the next problem we could talk about at the next session.
Definitely my work performance.
Okay, so your main thing that you want to discuss is your work performance and how your thoughts and feelings have been affecting
Correct.
your work performance.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully the same, later we can talk about how, you're feeling loved at home and how when you don't receive phone calls and things like that is affecting you. So, okay, perfect. So we're going to discuss that, okay?
Okay.
All right, so I know you've mentioned earlier, and I don't know if I've spoken to you, and I don't hope I'm not being a distraction, that at times I will be taking notes just to keep up with what you're saying and to make sure I'm staying organized and doing my best to keep us focused and things like that.
Okay.
And also throughout the session, I may interrupt you when you're speaking, and it's not to cut you off or that, your story isn't important and what you're saying is important. It's just if I feel like we need to refocus, I will interrupt at that. And also sometimes just to rewrite some notes and to keep up with what you're saying, because, I'm human. I have to catch up as well. So just to let you know ahead of time if that happens, okay?
Okay.
All right. So, right now what we're going to do is really work on that problem, and during this time we're going to be using the CBT model that I told you about before. We're going to be challenging those thoughts so that it can later, affect our feelings and then our actions. So as you mentioned before, you were saying you were feeling depressed at work, and this is all because of the situation that occurred before, which was your girlfriend leaving you. Is that correct? And I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. I don't want to speak for you because we're working together. This is a collaborative effort, and so I just want to make sure that I heard you correctly. Did you say that because she left you, you feel like you're undesirable or you're unlovable?
Yes.
And did you also mention possibly because of that you feel like maybe your boss doesn't like you as well?
Basically, yes.
Okay. So let's just make sure I'm hearing you right. So, if your girlfriend leaves you, you feel like you're unlovable.
And undesirable.
Okay.
It's like if she left me, then I'm undesirable. So then maybe my job will like fire me too because I'm undesirable.
Okay. So let's focus on that first one. If she left me, then I must be undesirable. Can you tell me how much do you believe that? On the scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I don't really believe it, and 10 being I really believe it. Can you tell me how much you really believe that thought?
Oh, that's like a 9.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay. And how do you feel when you're thinking this thought?
I feel sad.
Okay.
Mostly just different degrees of sadness.
Okay. And how strongly do you feel sad when you're feeling this? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I'm not really sad at all, and 10 being I'm very sad. Can you tell me how sad do you feel?
I'd say about an 8.
Okay, so you're feeling pretty sad. All right, so we're gonna move a little bit further in challenging, what you're thinking and stuff. So, are there any other times that this thought occurs that because because she's left me, that you might feel undesirable? I know you mentioned work. Is there another situation when this thought comes up to you?
That's really just between her and, like I said, just at work with my boss, and just the job period when it's like it could just be a way my boss looks at me.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, well, my girlfriend found me undesirable. I wonder if my boss finds me undesirable, my job finds me undesirable, and I'm just waiting to be fired.
Okay. And can you tell me, do you notice anything happening in your body when this is happening?
Well, sometimes, depending on the degree, kind of get like a cold sweat.
A cold sweat?
Other times, my palms get sweaty.
Okay. Sweaty palms. Okay. And so what happens next? You think this thought, and then after that, you notice the sweaty palms and you notice the cold sweats. What do you do next?
Well, if I have time, I do the homework assignment, which is write in my journal about it. And oftentimes, writing in that journal can actually help me see and recognize how I'm feeling, and it'll help me try and stop.
Okay. So you go and write things down. Okay.
That's how I try to cope with it. Sometimes I listen to music.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You listen to music. Okay. Awesome. So can you tell me, what is the evidence that supports this idea? And what I mean by that is, what have you, seen her, what have you observed that proves that if she left you, that you must be undesirable?
I mean, just the way that she left, like she kind of made it like it was my fault, and like it wasn't her, it was me. And she got a little personal, and so just because of that, it's like, well, obviously it was my fault. Because I loved her, and I thought she could do no wrong.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying the evidence that supports this is that she left.
Mm-hmm.
So other than her leaving, do you feel like there's no real evidence that supports that because she left that you're undesirable to everyone?
I guess not.
Okay. So what is the evidence that that it isn't true? What's the evidence that just because she left that you're undesirable, or that maybe that you are?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, you're fine. Let's say, what is the evidence that's on the contrary of that idea? So let's say you feel like because she left that you're undesirable. Well, what's the evidence that maybe that's not true? Maybe just because she left that maybe you are desirable. Is there any evidence? Do you have any family, friends, or anything that shows that you are desirable?
I have a friend,
Okay.
but other than him, I can't really think of anything.
Okay. But he hasn't left you or found you undesirable. He's been your friend for a while?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So if that isn't true, that's an interesting point that you just said there. So you really couldn't find much evidence other than that she left you and that she faulted you for it. But then there is evidence that says the opposite of that you do have a friend that you've been friends with for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he finds you desirable if he's still around, right?
I suppose.
Yeah, it's possible. So let's see. What's the worst that could happen if that's true? What's the worst that can happen that if she leaves, then you're undesirable?
Well, then everybody would find me undesirable.
Okay. And so then, what is the best thing that could happen if that's true?
If I'm undesirable?
Mm-hmm. What's the best outcome that can happen from that?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Could it possibly be that no, this, like I said, you let me know if this sounds okay to you. But could it possibly be that maybe you'd be able to weed out people that do like you and people who don't?
I guess, yes.
Okay.
I never thought about that.
So what's the most realistic outcome? Let's say maybe the worst could be that everybody doesn't like you, and then the best outcome could be that
Some people.
just some people. So then what's the most realistic of those two?
They're just some people. Not really.
That maybe just some people may not like you.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think you could live through that? Like you could survive with just some people don't like you? Not everybody has to like you, but do you feel like that's something that you could live through? Or?
I think I can.
Okay. So what do you think the effect of believing that thought that, if she left me, then I must be undesirable. What do you think thinking that thought has like an effect on you? What kind of effect has it left on you?
Well, now I just kind of question everybody's actions towards me, and I overanalyze my relationships with everybody else.
Okay. And, sometimes we can do that, and that's a cognitive distortion. And there are several, distortions. It's a negative way of thinking that's not positive and helpful to us. And sometimes if you're overanalyzing and kind of mind reading what people might feel about you because of something that's happened with one person, we kind of try to read people's minds and say, well, if she doesn't like me because she left, then they probably don't either. And if they never said that to you and you've never heard them say it and you don't have any evidence to prove it, that's kind of a distortion that sometimes we can create in our minds. And so with CBT, what we try to do is try to change that and change it into something positive. So maybe that's something that we can do with challenging these thoughts. So let's say maybe a friend was in the same situation and their girlfriend left them and they just felt like they were undesirable. what would you tell them?
Well, that's not true, because I mean, I'm your friend, or their friend.
Mm-hmm.
So it tells me at least have one person who finds your company desirable.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that you could tell a friend. What do you think about that advice for yourself?
Never thought about it like that.
Mm-hmm. It gives us something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how much do you believe that thought now that if she left, then you must be undesirable? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning, I don't really believe it at all, and 10 really saying that you really believe it. How much do you believe it now?
I'd probably say about 4,
A 4? Okay.
maybe 3.
Okay. Well, that's good. Good. We're glad that we're able to, take our time and really evaluate those thoughts and seeing how sometimes those distortions and those problems and that we're creating in our head, sometimes it's not helpful to us. So the fact that you're able to recognize it and not believe it as much, because when you first mentioned it, your number was a 9, that you really believed it. And now that we've gone through it and we've challenged it, you've noticed that your number has lowered a lot. So that's really good. I'm glad it's really helping you out. So right now we're going to set homework, and we're going to do another thought journal. Is that okay? And maybe we can build on that, and we can write challenging those negative thoughts. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure it's a collaborative effort. And then, so basically what we talked about how you were feeling your mood today, and with that, you had stated that you're at a 7 as far as being depressed, and hopefully that's lowered some. And we talked about the problems you wanted to work on. We weren't able to discuss how it's affects you at home. We were talking about it, how it's affects you at work, how you thought about your boss, and how that's affects you. So, and then we talked about challenging those thoughts and how it's changed from believing it from a 9 to now a 4. So that's good. So that's kind of like what we discussed today. And I want to ask you, really quick before our time is up, how did you feel the session went? And if there's anything we could add or change.
I think the session went very well. You made me think of a lot of different things, and it went very well. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, if there's anything that I can do to help and mention and anything you want to bring to the next session, we'll be able to do that, and we'll be able to assist you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. It was very nice seeing you again. And I look forward to seeing you in the next session, okay?
Thank you. Yes.
All right.